اليوم لدينا لقاء جمع بين نجمين من نجوم السينما العالمية. أهلا ومرحبا بكم في قناتكم حكمة الملوك. اليوم لدينا مقابلة شخصية مع أهم نجوم السينما العالمية، يتحدثون خلالها عن أهم الأفلام الذين شاركوا فيها معا والتاريخ الطويل الذي جمع بينهم. هيا بنا لنرى.
We met, I think, when I was 10 and you were 8.
Yeah, so more than 40 years.
Really started hanging out in high school.
He wouldn't hang out with me until then.
Once Ben had made a name for himself in local television.
He tried to ride my coattails and he's been doing it ever since.
Hi, I'm Matt Damon.
I'm Ben Affleck.
This is the timeline of our careers together. Field of Dreams.
So we did a lot of extra work in Boston because we wanted to be actors, and we knew College Pickman, which was a local casting agency, and we could be close to sets and watch people do things. And one of the big movies that came to town was Field of Dreams.
We're in the crowd.
We're in
like
the bleachers.
3,000 people, and we're 2 of the 3,000 people. It was very hard to get any access to Fenway Park, so I remember feeling like, wow, we were really lucky to even be in the ballpark.
Yeah, it was a special thing, like kind of behind the scenes. The game wasn't happening. That was a big deal. And I also remember seeing James Earl Jones, Kevin Costner, play the scene where they walk down one of the sort of alleys there, the pedestrian ramps, kind of feeling like, you know, wow, I'm close to a real movie with a real, you know, Kevin Costner was like, and James Earl Jones, I mean, you couldn't kind of get bigger than that. So it was really a thrill. I ended up working with the same director again in Sum of All Fears, and I was like, you know, we've worked together before, and he didn't remember me, but he was like, yeah, you and Matt. I was like, great. Yeah, okay, fine, Matt too.
And funnily enough, I went to visit the set of Sum of All Fears, and Phil cast me again as an extra in his movie. Remember, I put on a waiter's coat and I walked
He
past.
thought you were suited to it.
Yeah, no, you graduated to the lead of the next film that he did, and I still remained an extra.
I know who cheated.
Who?
It was Green.
What?
Yeah, Green. I saw him do it.
You're a liar. I saw him cheat.
I just remember with School Ties, audition after audition. I mean, we auditioned so many times.
We both auditioned, and Matt got a really cool leading part, and I got cast as the bully anti-Semite with 6 lines. Luckily, I didn't let it affect me or my self-esteem at the time. Later on, I did a movie called The Way Back, where I worked with a group of young guys who were playing the basketball players, and it really reminded me of how much fun we had.
Yeah.
Being that team, rehearsing the plays, you know, the camaraderie of the group, and Freddie Francis was the cinematographer, who was this legendary cinematographer, and we met Cole Hauser on that, and Chris O'Donnell, and Anthony Rapp, and Randall Batinkoff, and Shelko Ivanek, who's, I mean, you know, was just in The Last Duel, you know, he's somebody we've known who's brilliant. It was a big, big deal for us. They did put us up in a small condo complex adjacent to a dump, so...
We moved into that place. Because we wanted to get out of the hotel, and we realized the amount of money they had on the hotel deal we could take, and we saved like $5 a night by moving to the dump. So we moved to the dump. Felt great to be doing the movie together. It was unclear whether it was a big break, but a lot of those
It was a big break for Brendan, actually.
Yeah, it was
exactly.
Really
kind of, and Chris O'Donnell got Scent of a Woman after that. When you're a young actor, you always have the sense of kind of who else is auditioning for what and what else is kind of going on. And had a couple of movies like that where you sort of felt like, okay, well, some other people kind of broke, and you were sort of back to like getting your pages faxed to you and, you know, going to your next audition.
You know, if I told any of my friends back home about this, they wouldn't believe me. Over a failing grade in French.
Good grades, the right schools, the right colleges, the right connections. Those are the keys to the kingdom. I
remember his screen test because I already had the part. They found Brendan after a long search. I mean, all of us had read for that role multiple times, and none of us were quite right for it. But I just remember Brendan. I mean, we both remember him as just being so kind. And
he's just a really good person. You know, you got that sense from Brendan that way. It's like no ego. It wasn't, and you know, young guys can be sort of indistinguishable from chimpanzees, you know, sometimes. And he was kind and gracious, and he could have easily lorded it over everyone that he was the lead and the guy. And I remember he came to my house for like a barbecue, my mom's house in Cambridge, you know, and he just was sweet. I've just liked the guy, and I'm really, really glad for him.
Just sitting, digging, rolling sweet at Smoky Joe's Cafe. This chick came walking through the door that I had never seen before.
The director really wanted me to have my shirt off. And I remember thinking, how do I say to the director, I don't want to have my shirt off? I was self-conscious about my body, and I didn't think I looked good, but I was embarrassed to do push-ups in front of the other guys. And now no one's embarrassed, by the way. You go in these sets and there's like 18 trainers, and everyone's like, pump, what I mean?
There's like weight sets.
Everyone just takes it for
different
granted. At that time, you were supposed to pretend that you weren't vain.
There's no pretension to that.
We'd like to start off by saying that it is a real pleasure to finally meet you.
Absolute pleasure.
One of the main reasons that we started this whole thing was to finally meet the guys that do Blunt Man and Chronic. Snoochie booches, huh?
It was the first time I had ever played a lead. I had been cast as, bullies and baddies. So for Kevin to cast me as somebody with feelings, who was sensitive, who had dialogue that was interesting, was huge for me.
You gotta respect that kind of display of affection. You know what I mean? Sure, it's crazy, it's rude, it's self-absorbed, but it's love.
It was a $250,000 budget, and I slept on Kevin's couch, and it was like, you got a buddy, this guy Matt, will he be in it? And Matt was better known than I was. He had done Geronimo, he'd been the second lead in School Ties, he'd done a Tommy Lee Jones TNT film also. So that was a great coup to have Matt.
But that was a huge role for you.
It was a big deal for me.
Kevin Smith was really obliging, so he gave me a lot of small parts over the years in movies.
He was
where
totally
Ben was
happy
the
to
lead.
exploit Matt's star for his own benefit, and so was I.
No. You don't owe it to yourself. You owe it to me. Because tomorrow I'm gonna wake up and I'll be 50. And I'll still be doing this shit. That's all right, that's fine. I mean, you're sitting on a winning lottery ticket.
I started it in a playwriting class in college and wrote the first 40 pages of it and handed, and we were tasked with writing a one-act play for this by the end of the semester. And I handed this in to the professor, who I really liked, and I said, I think I failed your class because this is not a one-act play, but I believe it's the first act of a movie. He was really effusive in his praise for what I'd done, and he gave me an A in his class, and he said, keep going with this. I showed it to Ben, and I had enough, because of this professor's reaction, I had enough confidence to show it to my friend. And I said, I don't know what to do. I'm stuck with this. And Ben read it and goes, I don't know what to do either, but we should do it together. And that was it. Of that initial 40 pages, I only 5 pages survived. The one scene that survived was this first meeting that I have with Robin Williams.
Which is almost verbatim.
It's almost verbatim the way that scene we both really liked. Ben, out of the blue, just said, if he said those things to the guy, meaning Robin Williams, the guy would have to have a response, and I think he would tell him a story. I think it would be and he started to kind of chunk out that whole monologue that Robin Williams has on the park bench to me.
You don't know about real loss, because that only occurs when you love something more than you love yourself. I doubt you've ever dared to love anybody that much.
We didn't have any aspirations to write. We really wanted jobs as actors. That was our entire goal.
The gift we had was we had a high school teacher, really, who didn't make it feel like these were distinct silos. He had us improvise and create our own scenes and sort of semi-write them. He would really actually kind of rewrite them and make them make sense. But we had the sense that we were writing them, so we felt empowered.
The way we wrote the movie was exactly the way Jerry taught us to write in high school. Yeah, for sure. With our actors, we're always very solicitous of what they're feeling, because they're in it, right? And so when somebody's in it, I remember Minnie Driver saying, I feel like, and we were like, whatever you feel is do it, right? If it doesn't feel like you should say that, don't say that, right? We wrote the wrong line.
Yeah, we're not coming from some, we've written this mighty prose and speak it as it's written and roll trippingly off the tongue. We were like, this is probably a disaster. I'm sure what you can do is better. All of you here who are actors are all writers, you're all filmmakers, you're all part of this thing. All of your voices are important. You're all going to contribute something that we couldn't come up with ourselves. So please be generous and give it to us.
Casey's bouncing up a bar at Harvard next week. We should go up there. What are we gonna do up there? I don't know. We'll fuck up some smart kids. Probably fit right in.
It was more pressure to be in Boston. I remember the first night we were there, a bunch of our high school friends showed up with a case of beer. And we were like, guys, this is not the beer time. We're working. This isn't I think they associated us coming to Boston with an opening. Yeah. It's a big party. You know what I mean? It's a movie opening. We're all going to the movie.
Associated most things with beer.
Yeah. And we were like, fuck off. We're shooting at 6 a.m. You guys gotta leave.
Sean, if the professor calls about that job, just tell him, sorry. I had to go see about a girl. Will.
Son of a bitch. Stole my line. Robin would open the door and come out and he'd find this letter. And I was right next to Gus, next to the camera, and I would say, because we wanted him to, as if he was hearing my voice, right? Said, you know, Sean, if the professor calls about that job, tell him sorry, I had to go see about a girl. So I would say that. And what was scripted was that he just takes a moment and he realizes that I'm gone. And in true Robin fashion, we did 60 takes, you know, like we just left the camera rolling and he kept coming out and kept coming out. And he did something different every single time. And I remember when he said, son of a bitch, he stole my line, I grabbed Gus's shoulders, like, I felt him tense up, like we both knew, we were like, holy shit, like what a line, like how did we not think of that? Like that is great. So obviously it was, the whole movie was leading to that line. Like clearly we thought this whole thing out.
Just like we planned it.
It was a very surreal experience to go, because the year before we were shooting Good Will Hunting, we watched it in the condo we rented in Toronto with Gus and Casey and Cole. And to go from that experience where, you know, we filled out the sheets and we were betting on who was gonna win, to being in the front row of the Oscars together with our moms in 1 year, it felt like warp speed to suddenly be, and to have Billy Crystal singing a song about us.
We were sitting next to our moms and we won and we kind of hugged our moms. And I remember how everyone had made such a big thing out of it, as if this was such a novelty. And I remember thinking, being insecure, like, why is it weird that we're bringing our moms? Like, who else do you think we would bring? You know what I mean? Like that, there was nobody else that was gonna go to, you know what I mean? That was it. Of course our moms were gonna go. That really was innocent and not faked. And I remember Alec Baldwin off stage. Being like, enjoy this, remember this.
Don't what you have, don't fuck this up.
I was like, I can't feel anything.
Had we been given free will, we could choose to ignore the pain like they do. But no, we're servants.
Okay. You know, all I'm saying here is that one of us might need a little nap.
Kevin's very focused on the written word, and he's got a very kind of like a cadence that he likes, but I thought it was a really creative, interesting script, and it was a sort of imagining of Catholicism in a very literal sense and also in a comic sense. I was thinking my kids might like that. They have that sense of humor. Kevin's always had the sense of humor of an adolescent.
I have seen what happens to the proud when they take on the throne. I'm going back to Wisconsin. We're going home, Loki. And no one, not you, not even the Almighty himself, is gonna make that otherwise.
It was a really fun movie, interesting movie. Linda Fiorentino, Chris Rock, Alan Rickman.
Yeah.
And there's a really cool group of people to be, Alanis Morissette.
Yeah.
It was like a fun group of people to just be associated with. It felt special, and it felt like, you know, I was doing that and Shakespeare in Love at the same time, so I had to have the same haircut, and all of a sudden I was doing like multiple movies. I mean, I'd sit around for a year waiting to be on an after-school special, and all of a sudden, you know, I was doing different parts, and it was a very exciting, exhilarating, thrilling time to be 25 or whatever I was.
Tongue or lion face?
Lion face. Lion face? Ha! Lemon face. Lion face. Ha! Lemon face.
Break it down. Where are we taking it from, Gus?
Gus was like not even paying attention. He was just counting a stack of money behind the camera. And really funny idea, you know, that like we instantly completely sold out and we're already making Good Will Hunting 2 hunting season. It was like a day of shooting. And yeah, we got everybody back together from that bar scene.
It was kind of our desire to kind of like our reaction to what was a very just personal, small, seeming, intimate sort of movie that then became kind of something bigger. I remember feeling kind of wanting to react against it, and maybe like not in a smart way, but thinking like, no, I'm just still the same person. I want to sort of debunk this whole idea of being, you know, like that this is somehow like special or something. I don't know. It was very confusing. You know, the idea, well, I'm going to be real. I'm going to be the same person, but life is different.
You say I am not the captain? You say to me I am not the captain here?
I say to you whatever I like. I decide who's the captain at Blab.
I read the book, and Scorsese had been attached to it for a really long time, and his option had run out. I guess he didn't know exactly what he wanted to do with it.
Couldn't crack it, really.
Yeah, couldn't crack it. And I wrote to Drew Goddard, who wrote The Martian, and in this series of emails back and forth, we kind of came across this idea of making it a story of perspective and telling it from 3 different perspectives, and having her perspective, the person with the least agency, be the person who's the most honest and sees the world really for what it is. And Ben was over for dinner and he's like, what are you working on? I'm like, I don't know, I got this thing. Well, what is it? And I explained the idea, and he goes, that's a great idea. Where's the book? And I handed him the book, and like the next morning at 7, he called me and he was like, I want to do it. Let's write it together. And I was like, did you stay up all night and read the book? And he was like, yeah.
Closer.
Lord, I become your man.
I swear I shall serve you for life.
As we started working together, it was so much fun. Not that the subject matter, and Nicole Holofcener, it should be said, wrote the best stuff in the movie and was a joy to work with. But that process of the three of us was so much fun and so rewarding. Jodie and Adam, who were amazing, and Ridley was really, you know, just was very kind of collaborative. It was really a learning experience for me watching him shoot. I thought like, okay, I want to steal this, I want to steal this, I'm going to steal this, I'm going to steal this. Somebody I've idolized for a long time. At somewhere along that point, we thought, why haven't we done this more? We should do this more often. Because it was so much fun. Even as dark and painful a story as that is thrilling if you love it, and we loved it.
I'm willing to bet my career on Michael Jordan.
Come on, man.
You ask me what I do here. This is what I do. I find you players, and I fucking feel it this time.
I think people have a vision of the director with the bullhorn and the riding crop and the beret or something like, you know. But really, to me, it's about casting great performers and trying to make them feel comfortable and valued and at ease, because you're going to get the most beautiful stuff. And also Matt's a fucking genius who I really didn't even quite realize how good he was until I was cutting the movie. You get painted into a corner a lot, and you need to have that ripcord, that shoot, that emergency shoot, which was always Matt. No matter what was happening in a scene, you could cut to Matt. He's always authentic, he's always present, and there's always something fucking interesting about what he's doing. He's beautiful and magnificent in this movie, and it made me realize how really good he's been throughout.
Look, Ben's a great director, and that's very generous to say that I was somehow, you know, indicating to people that they could trust him. I mean, I think the fact that he's already got the Best Picture Oscar, people signed up and they were pretty excited about it. The environment, as I've heard all of them say, and all of them have been talking about, you know, was about as good as it gets in terms of being open to create and bring what you bring and feel like your ideas were gonna have a forum and the best idea would win. So it's kind of the dream set, really. Turns out he knows what he's doing.
If you really look at Jordan, like I did, you're gonna see exactly what I see.
Which is what?
The most competitive guy I have ever seen. He is a fucking killer.
Every day was a joy. I got to work with Matt every day. I love the guy. I really appreciate his friendship and the experience of the joy of friendship in this life. And, you know, it's wonderful. It's a real gift.
Honestly, the best job I ever had. I literally mourned it when it was over. I really did. It was so fun.
At some point, we got convinced of this idea like, well, you don't want to work together all the time or you'll become sort of associated with each other and that's negative. But ultimately, it was sort of like, fuck that. I don't know. Let's work together because that's the beautiful. That's the
and we're getting old, you know, and it's like, it's you know, I mean, after my father passed away, like, it really does give you a perspective of, we can now look at the last 20 years and go like, well, the benefit of hindsight, what would we have done differently? And I think we both came to the conclusion that we would have worked together a lot more.
Yeah, you hit 50, you might not get 20 more. Life is happening now. You know, it's not the decision you make tomorrow. This is it. This is what we want to do.
Right here.
Thank you.
كان هذا اللقاء الرائع بين النجمين المحبوبين من قاعدة جماهيرية كبيرة في عالمنا. اكتب لنا في التعليقات من هم النجوم الذين تودون عرض لقاءات لهم على قناتنا. وقم بالاشتراك في القناة وتفعيل زر الجرس ليصلك المزيد من المحتوى. إلى اللقاء في الفيديو القادم.